fertility, contraception, and labor has for the entire span of our race's existence been the three biological requirements for the continuation of our species here on Earth. The bond, love, and joy that parents experience in correlation to childbirth, upbringing, and the maturing of their offspring is said to be one of the deepest emotional endeavors one can undertake in a lifetime. However, within the corrupted areas of Louisiana, this love, joy, and happiness, along with the three biological processes, would under the curse of darkness itself, scourge every childbearing mother with a fate so malicious it would contort the miracle of birth to a catastrophe of death. The Soul Farmers, a description given to the Meathead by the well-known researcher of the occult, Sculptor. A description that has caused more confusion than consensus. A description that has even been ridiculed by other researchers. However, could it be that Sculptor possessed an insight in the creature's function that no one else understood? The largest and most dangerous among the sculptor's meager creations, blind, deaf, but ferocious and extremely resilient, the Meatheads, as the hunters of Louisiana would curiously name them, especially since the creature possessed no head at all, sharing humanoid features and similarities like arms and legs. The creature took shape of a giant blob of fat more than anything else, having neither eyes nor ears. Rather, it relied on a swarm of leeches that crept around its proximity, functioning as external sensory organs. These leeches would both mark and weaken its victims through a vile venom, which the Meathead would, through an unknown sensory organ, be able to sense and detect. When venom was injected into a nearby subject, either through leeches or the bees of the hives, or even the very weapons of the hunters themselves, this ferocious behemoth would with deceivingly fast steps chase down its prey to devour them, being able to tank and resist legions of bullets in the process with ease. And while the characteristics and outward appearance of the Meathead would be disturbing, a walking headless colony of leeches, its creation, or rather contraception and birth, was even more disturbing. Her eyes glowed and her skin steamed. The words of Dr. Henry and his testimony as he described the hunter Hannah Kinney in the midst of her labor. Hannah and her husband Jonathan were both members of the American Hunters Association back in the early days of the corruption, before the new and improved serum was introduced within their organization's ranks by Lynch. Back then, women were not allowed to enter the organization for reasons known only to the director Philip Huff Jones and a few select high-ranking members. Reasons which later would become very apparent. However, Hannah and Jonathan, enthralled by the temptation of power and riches found within the corrupted areas of the bayous, circumvented the screening process by disguising Hannah as a man. She was the first female hunter to join the organization in decades. The two were initiated, granted both immunity to the corruption and the gift of sight through the old serum of the AHA. The wife and husband would prove to be exceptional hunters, their contribution to the cause outrivaling that of even the best of the organization's hunters. As Huff himself put it, together they rid us of more terrible creatures than most of us will destroy in a lifetime. Putting their mark on the fight against the corruption, the two gained notoriety within the organization, making a name for themselves with their expeditions, as their passion for hunting seemed to match their passion for each other. And in the midst of their contribution to the AHA's cause, Hannah would suddenly find herself pregnant. To her own and everyone else's surprise, the pregnancy seemed to make her stronger. Her powers would increase, her ferocity seemed to grow, and her already tenacious nature made her an unstoppable force of destruction. Day by day, month by month, witnessed firsthand by other hunters, she grew ever more and more powerful, reaching levels of strength and spiritual energy that seemed impossible, even to the seasoned hunters of the organization. An account of her incredible powers was recited by another hunter who was part of her group as they encountered a larger demonic entity of immense power. The creature, accompanied by a horde of the Sculptor's lesser minions, had the nameless hunter assured that their fate had been sealed. However, Hannah tore through this devil's legion with a wrath and fury that he feared to recall. Recognizing the demon that was growing within her, he urged Jonathan, the husband, to inform the AHA of Hannah's change. However, Jonathan refused. Finally, at the end of her term, the mother was recognized by the AHA and moved into their lodgings, constantly under strict supervision of the organization's medical professionals. Knowing the potential outcome of a female pregnancy in the vicinity of the other side, the doctors and director of the AHA awaited the birth with fear and anxiety, which both were warranted. It should be noted that at this point, the pregnancy could have been terminated one way or another. It could be speculated that Dr. Hoff Jones was hoping that the pregnancy and birth would result in the birth of a supernatural human, something that could aid his cause against the corruption. That, however, would not be the case. Dr. Henry, the doctor overseeing Hannah's pregnancy and birth, was present when she went into labor. As the birth began, he remarked that her skin began steaming and her eyes would glow with a satanic glance. Suddenly, she forced out a sickening grin. Though she moaned and screamed in pain, the grin was frozen on her face. As the child crowned, Hannah began laughing at the top of her lungs. Even as the child clawed its way out of her, disemboweling her body, she continued to laugh. Leeches spilled onto the floor from the gaping hole, followed by the sick, disturbing sound of skin being pulled apart as the child tore its way out of its mother. What emerged from the body of Hannah was already the size of a 6 to 7-year-old, with no eyes, ears, or even head. From the top of its body and writhing around it was a horde of leeches, and from the lifeless body of its mother, her sickening laughter continued to echo throughout the medical facility. As the child began devouring the remains of Hannah, Dr. Henry had seen enough and fled the facility. In response, the AHA sent a large group of armed hunters back to the facility, looking for the spawn of Hannah. However, when they arrived, both the child and the remains of Hannah were gone. Hoping to prevent an incident like the Kinneys from ever happening again, the AHA introduced a new serum created by the hunter Lynch, which, besides being more effective in terms of resistance to the corruption, would also make women infertile and prevent any pregnancy from ever happening within the organization again. Just like with any of the other Sculptor's minions within Louisiana, it didn't take long before more and more replicas of this demonic creature would show up within the bayous. This would pose even greater problems for the AHA and their cause, as these behemoths would now wander the swamps, guarding the compounds, lairs, and clues found around Louisiana. Again, we arrive at the description of Soul Farmer. The researcher remarks that Sculptor, who named the creature this, was a fool for its description. Seeing that this humongous creature couldn't possibly go unnoticed in the night, harvesting the souls of anyone, the description seemed ridiculous. However, when the characteristics of the Meathead is examined, Soul Farmer might be the most accurate description among any of the entries of the Sculptor's creatures. For within the womb of the mother, the creature would begin a deep symbiotic relationship. As the mother provided it with sustenance, it would in turn provide her with demonic powers. The two would share a mutual connection, a connection of overwhelming power. The two would continue to benefit one another, existing as two, but growing as one. And the stronger the mother grew, the stronger the fetus would grow as well. It would grant the mother inhuman strength and demonic power, rivaling, even surpassing that of most legendary hunters. But alas, on the other side, in the Sculptor's realm, only death can pay for life. And at the birth of this horrific demon, it would harvest the soul of the mother, the very soul it had been feeding, to use her magnificent power and energy to bring itself into the world and grant it unimaginable strength and resilience, making it one of the most destructive creatures within the Sculptor's ranks. Hey there, Hazmat here. That was the last entry in the lore about all of the Sculptor's creatures, and what a perfect note to end on as well. So morbidly dark and terrifying. Now all we have to do is wait for Crytek to add more creatures to the game, and I'll cover those as well. As always, a big thanks goes out to the Hunters Lounge on Patreon, specifically Johnny Sevens, Jim and L. Bob, Corey Peterson, Derivative, Hein, Goose, Doug Powell, Gino Lucero, Slip, Stas Biestek, The Wizard of Copper, Bubonic MCCC, Eli the Great, Gabe Benavides, Ghosty, Jane Dope, Jose Gonzalez, Kashiyuka, Nightingale Far, Raven, Sir Bottoms, Spooks, The Loaf of Bread, Tim Wright, Tom Hengst, Ulf Hjelström, and Wildcard. The Hunters Lounge does not only support me directly as a content creator, they also help me decide on future content, and you can join it for as little as $1 a month. The link is in the description below. And thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one.